Welcome to the FanDuel running back analysis for Week 14. I'm Jason Gilbo at JGilbo11. With me is Justin Elick at Big Italy 42. Taking a look at backs this week and coming off, basically a week where you had to get the right ones to cover up your, mistakes in the passing attack.
Yeah, pretty much. David Johnson, he's a lock every single week now. It's insane how good he is. And I can't remember where I saw it. It might have been Matthew Berry's article talking about how David Johnson, I won't say quietly, but he's having one of the best fantasy seasons anyone has ever had right now. We're talking in the history of fantasy, which is a lot longer than most people think. He's having ridiculous numbers. He's got a touchdown catch in 4 straight games, 11 plus targets in 3 straight games. In his last 4 weeks, he's got 300 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns, 297 receiving yards on 29 catches and 4 more touchdowns. Miami, bottom 10 against the run, 4th most rushing yards allowed. And it really doesn't even matter the matchup with him, because even in a tough matchup, I feel like he just sees more targets in the passing game. And he's quickly closed in on Larry Fitzgerald. And if he keeps up this run of receiving yards, he might end up being the leading rusher and receiver on a team with a Hall of Famer on it, which is just absolutely insane.
I was talking with Russ because, he's in on the same guy. It's hard not to be this week. And
yeah,
you just look and you go, obviously Le'Veon Bell's your second one here that we'll talk about. But these two guys, it's, if they don't have it on the ground that day, they have it in the air. If they don't have it on the ground, or if they don't have it in the air, they have it in the ground. It's just, you can chalk up 100-plus all-purpose yards and likely with Johnson probably find the end zone.
Yeah, and it's not unrealistic to be expecting 150 with Johnson right now. The crazy thing is, his rushing totals haven't even been huge recently, but it's been the last time he had 4 weeks ago was the last time he had less than 150 total yards, and he still scored 2 touchdowns. It's just absolutely ridiculous how good this guy is. And it wasn't even – the thing with him is it wasn't even like he was a highly touted prospect. Like, the guy was a nobody 2 years ago, a year and a half ago even. And now, obviously Le'Veon Bell has a case, but, he's the best running back in football. And maybe not the best runner, but the best all-purpose back. And it's crazy because these two guys, I kind of mentioned it here, are just – they're head and shoulders above the rest right now. Zeke Elliott's a great runner, but doesn't catch passes. He's not really a factor in the passing game. So talking all-purpose backs, it's these two guys and it's everybody else.
Yeah, it really is. And this week, there's a lot of value at wide receiver, especially here on FanDuel. I think you're looking at basically Johnson, Bell, and Evans, and you're debating between 2 or 3 of them because it's viable to put 2 to 3 into your lineups this week.
Yeah, exactly. There's no way I'm making, especially cash game lineups, without at least 2 of those guys. And for me, Evans is one of them. So I got to figure out who my other guys. I'm kind of leaning David Johnson, but at the same time, there's a $700 difference there. So if I really can't get him and I have to go down to Bell, I don't feel too bad about it.
Yeah, definitely. Really, yeah. What a shame you have to drop down to Le'Veon Bell for $700 less.
Plus, he doesn't have any 2 touchdown games yet this year. Le'Veon Bell doesn't. That's coming. Last week we were talking about how Jordan Howard hadn't scored in a couple weeks and he was going to score some touchdowns. I think we said
3.
At least 2. He got 3. Bell is getting 2 touchdowns this week. I'm not saying they're both going to be rushing touchdowns. I'm going to go 1-1, but he's getting 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, no.
Bold prediction, I know. Le'Veon Bell scoring 2 touchdowns. Everyone tweet me when that happens. one time out of the 100 times he's going to do it in his career.
Very hot take here from
Minimum 50 total yards from Le'Veon Bell. Fact.
Yeah, look at these guys. High price, but definitely worth it. In terms of a floor and a ceiling, you just don't care about the ownership. You just don't care about the price tag at this point. You lock them in and forget about it.
Yeah, you don't have to think about it. It does not matter the matchup. You're getting on FanDuel at least 15 points from both these guys at all times.
Yeah. So moving into GPP running backs, kind of diving down to that, high 7K range. So a pretty good discount from those guys. These are guys with upside that, they could rival in terms of having a perfect game where it pans out and they pay off and go, oh, I got David Johnson numbers from Matt Forte for $2,000 less.
Yeah, and this one, I've tried not to make it seem so simple as he's facing the 49ers, but they're so bad. And I keep trying to find different ways to talk about how bad they are. And they've allowed what is it, 345 more yards than the second worst rushing defense, which is the Browns. Like, you're 345 yards worse than the Cleveland Browns. I mean, it doesn't matter what the statistic is. I mean, that's just – they're historically bad. And compared to the Ravens, on a per-game basis, they're allowing 96 more rushing yards per game than the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, it's stupid. And we talked about the Jets on that other podcast about how Todd Bowles – I mean, whoever you want to blame – I'll blame everyone. I mean, the team has weapons.
That's
like
what you do.
Yeah, I mean, the 49ers, like, it is what I do. And I don't like the Jets at all. I don't even really like any of them, to be honest with you. But, I mean, the 49ers, like, they don't have weapons. You don't have a wide receiver. Carlos Hyde's a decent running back, but he's not explosive. Like, it makes sense that they
I'm surprised given the fact he came out of Ohio State. I mean, I figured you'd be like, that's where only the tremendous athletes come out of. And
listen, I'm impartial sometimes. He's good. Don't get me wrong, but he's not an elite back. He probably never will be. I don't think he will be. Like, I think he's going to be a good back for a long time. But they have an excuse to suck on offense. You know, they don't have any weapons. Like, and the Jets, I mean, we're talking about perennial Pro Bowlers on this offense. I mean, 2 of them, 3 of them really if Decker's healthy. And, I mean, they just can't score points. I mean, it seems simple. I mentioned here about how Forte, the times that he has had 20-plus touches, FanDuel points, 18, 29.9, 27.4, 22.8, and 11.9. I mean, just give him the ball. I mean, he's great in the open field. He's a great pass catcher. They just don't want to get him the ball, and I don't understand it. But, I mean, this is the spot. If you just want to sit back and try to ruin your draft pick, I mean, give Matt Forte the ball.
I think we look at this and go, usually, I mean, we're locking in basically every back in a cash game against 49ers at this point, but the state of that offense and just the state of how things are run, and hell, we could even get a game where Bilal Powell comes in and takes 40% of the snaps and gets that goal line carry or gets that, big screen pass, and Forte's looking at just 11 points. Like, that's what we're dealing with here for just a GPP purpose.
Yeah, it's incredibly upsetting. I mean, that was the whole reason they brought him in, because they didn't have – I mean, Chris Ivory was the guy for a while. I mean, you didn't have a good pass catching back like Powell, I guess, but he's not a good runner at all. I mean, Forte's good everywhere. I mean, he's a good goal line back even. I don't understand why you bring him in and then you don't give him the ball. I mean, if he doesn't see 20 touches this week, I probably won't play him again the rest of the season at least. I mean, I don't care. I don't know who they play the next
Don't play the rest of these 3 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, why is Matt Forte even on? Like, why is he even on the roster if he doesn't see 20 touches this week?
Get rid of him. You sound like one of those angry, like, radio callers, like, calling in, like, Big Apple Sports Radio, and you're just –
I sound like a disgruntled Jets fan. It's funny because I hate the Jets. I just hate stupidity, too. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, this is the sport for you.
I got plenty to complain about. I always do. But he'll get 20 touches this week.
He should. Yeah, he should definitely be in that range. So, your other GPP back, you're looking at Jordan Howard. I don't think we're going to get much recency bias here. I really don't, because I think, I think the Detroit Lions defense has improved over the last 5-6 weeks. So I think people are going to kind of continue into that trend and might fade.
Yeah, I mean, it really has. If you look at the surface numbers there, 30th against the pass, 25th against the run, those numbers are really, really misleading. I mean, they just held the Saints to 13 points at the Superdome. Minnesota and Jacksonville the 2 weeks before that, or Minnesota twice and Jacksonville those weeks, those weren't good offenses by any means. Houston the week before that, Washington the week before that, no one scored 20 points on them, or more than 20 points on them in a month and a half. I mean, the Rams were the last team that did it, oddly enough. So, I mean, they have struggled a couple times, Green Bay, Indianapolis, against some offenses that can put up points. But, I mean, it's for them, it seems like it's a yardage thing. They're not giving up a lot of yardage, but they're giving up scores. So, I don't know. It's a situation where I wish that I could rely on Jordan Howard just based on those service numbers. But because they have been better and this offense is actually horrible, I'm definitely wouldn't be playing him in a cash game this week. This is not the 49ers like last week where, it doesn't matter how bad the team is. If you're a running back, you just get it done. Like it's a risky spot. But I mean, if he sees anywhere near the volume he saw last week, what was it, 32 carries? If he sees 25 plus, I mean, he's going to get you that floor of 10 points. And if he can find the end zone a couple times, then, he could pay off big, especially with everyone on Bell and Johnson up top. I don't think a lot of people will be on that mid-range there.
And not a bad wide receiver either, receiving back. I mean, we've seen him break off a couple of nice passes. I mean, one was against the Colts. He made or break, your Hoyer Howard stack that week. So, I mean, he is kind of an all-around back. I mean, we've seen it happen. And, Detroit's not particularly great against running backs in the passing game either.
Yeah, and I mean, he's actually been a good runner. It's not just a situation of volume. I mean, the stat that I kept seeing was the yards after contact. I mean, he was top 3 in the NFL. I mean, it was the guy makes good decisions. He's a really gifted runner. It's just unfortunate for him that he's stuck in that situation.
Yeah, definitely. And then we go into these value backs here, and we're looking at Jeremy Hill, who's $3K cheaper basically than David Johnson this week. And you highlighted it here. Last time he played the Browns, 9 carries for 168 yards.
It was video game numbers. It was like, you remember when you used to play like Madden back in the day in the early 90s? Maybe that was a little bit before your time. But, I mean, it was pretty much you run with Emmitt Smith. It's a sweep to the right every time. And it's just like 30 yards, 40 yards. You missed the first tackle, and that's what it was in that game. I mean, he didn't even have to try. Like, he didn't make tremendous decisions or anything. It was just wide open. And I can tell you in Columbus, Ohio right now, it's snowing pretty well. It's supposed to snow for the next couple of days. I mean, it's going to be snowy and cold and windy in Cleveland on Sunday. I mean, I would not be shocked to see him have 25-plus carries in this game. I mean, no Giovanni Bernard this time, which is part of the reason he only had 9 carries last time. I think that if you're not paying up for 2 running backs, I think he's going to be my second guy.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously he has not had 2 good games since Giovanni Bernard's been out. He's been awful. He's been 11 points on both of them, but it has not been pretty.
Yeah, but the offensive line hasn't been great. I'll be honest.
No, but this, I mean, obviously it's a tremendous matchup here. Weather kind of, shifts it to the run game. If it's anything remotely decent, I still kind of like Dalton in the Cincinnati stack. I don't mind it just because it's the Browns defense. I mean, they're horrible.
Yeah, I mean, the Bengals will score points by default. I mean, just because it's the Browns. And, but yeah, I mean, and Hill, I still think he's a good runner. I mean, especially at the goal line. I mean, he's one of the better goal line backs in the league. And, I mean, there's never a better situation to get close to the goal line than if you're facing the Browns or the 49ers. So when we saw the Bengals somehow last week actually score points against a really good defense. So we must be in store for a big dud this week against the Browns.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not particularly worried about
Cincinnati.
Thomas Rawls, your next one here, 6,500. Cheap guy here who's getting a lead back duty there in Seattle.
Yeah, Rawls is. I mean, I feel like John Gruden when I was thinking about what I was going to say about him. Like, man, this guy's good. I like this guy. He runs a football. He's a running back. Man, that's great. But I mean, he was awesome last year. The end, filling in for Marshawn Lynch, struggled in a couple games this year. Of course, the first time that he came back was a value play. That was more so the team just being awful. Game flow kind of took him out of that against Tampa Bay, and that defense is playing well. Then last week, and one of the tougher matchups you'll see. I know Luke Kuechly wasn't playing, but Carolina's still a good run defense. 15 for 106 and 2 touchdowns. Did do most of his damage early. But, we talked about this before with Green Bay. This is a defense that ranks number 7 against the run, but there's no way in hell that they're a top 10 run defense in my book. I mean, I'll keep this short and not actually read you all of these, but these are some of the backs they faced this year. And these are the guys that had the most carries in the game. Dwayne Washington, Orleans Darkwa, Kadeem Carey, Devontae Freeman, Wendell Smallwood. And then you see when they've actually faced good backs, Ezekiel Elliott had 157 yards. DeMarco Murray had 123. Robert Kelly had 137. And Rawls is a good back. I think he's an above-average back. I'm not saying he's a great back by any means, but, I mean, he's young. He could become a Marshawn Lynch type of runner, And, I mean, Seattle likes to rely on the run. They just haven't been able to this season because it's been inconsistent. So he gives them that extra dimension in the running game. And, I mean, this is a dangerous offense, and I do think they're going to put up a ton of points this week.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, we got potential for a sneaky shootout. And, I mean, I think there might be some weather, so that could even focus more on the run game there at Lambeau. So, as you pointed out, I mean, it really has been a matchup-based thing for the Packers this year.
Yep.
So, let's go wrap things up with the FanDuel running back analysis for Week 14. If you want to check out Justin's article, is up on the site. Get his hot takes. And, Bell and Johnson, nobody's going to be on those guys this week.
Hey, you're welcome. I'm here to serve.
So come back next week and check out our content for Week 15.